Gentlemen, this just in. Shelf space reserves are at an all-time low. Further acquisition of useless objects will surely jeopardize the grip that I have on whatever shelf space remains in my kingdom. Oh, wow. I sure hope I don't come into sudden possession of collectible things that need unboxing. That would be a complete disaster. Oh, hey! Toys! Hail, the Bard here once again, and it's time for another cracking unboxing. And today we are veering away from the collector's editions for a bit in order to look at the related field of collectible toys and figures. And to that end, today we are unboxing Tiki, the fairy character from Dragon's Crown, the only good game on PlayStation 3. Now, because I don't think there's all that much to unboxing something like this, a figure I mean, I thought I'd also give it the benefit of a full review. That should be interesting for all of us. So, why wait? Let's unbox this enchanting fey creature. Although, I do have to be honest with you, I have had Tiki for about 2 weeks, and she has, in that time, attained the coveted position of Imperial Fairy. That's nothing to snort at. That means that this unboxing is a little bit of a formality, but no harm done. Now, here we go. Dragon's Crown. Dragon's Crown is wonderful and I love it highly, so it's no surprise that I'd be interested in figures, though they didn't make one of my favourite character, the dwarf, which I consider to be an international tragedy and a serious crime against me and my people. But that said, the game itself, it is as if the developers said, you know that Bard guy in Australia? Let's make a game for him. Everything about it is precision calibrated just so that I would love it. And it's great and I commend it to you. Now I'm being very gentle with this, as you always must in an unboxing situation, by sliding out the lovely plastic shell that encases the figure. And then also very gently pulling it apart, and thus releasing an unknowable and inhuman fey creature into our world. Again, I mean, here we go. Nearly there. Released. And we're clear. Right, here is a bag of monies, which I'm not going to give to you. Tiki also comes with loose change for you to strew about the place wherever you choose to display her. A great advantage, I found. And of course, the main figure itself. Tiki, a 1-to-1 scale fairy. Looks pretty good. She is designed to sit on the bag of money, just like that, and generally be quite adorable. But, you know, maybe I didn't think this through. I think for a review we need a better angle, so give me a minute and we'll get really close in and get into the nitty-gritty of what makes this figure so great. Oh yeah, spoilers, this is going to be a very positive review. Here she is, and what a beautiful figure. Now straight away I was very impressed by the quality at hand here in Tiki. I've had a few figures such as this over the years, but I've never had anything quite of this caliber. It's modelled after Dragon's Crown's adventure results screen. When your mission is over and you're relaxing in the tavern, Tiki perches on a bag of gold and watches you as you count your loot. According to the box, it was sculpted by the cryptically named MIC Corporation, and I only hope that my camera is up to the task of doing it justice, because I would love to show you exactly why I think so highly of this figure. The first port of call for being impressed by a figure like this is generally going to be those details that make it stand out. For a start, look at these coins. They have a glossy finish to make them shine, and they're detailed so they look like they've been through a real low-tech minting process with flaws everywhere. They look great. Oh hey, look! They even bothered to paint Tiki's toenails. And fingernails, for that matter. As is usually the case with figures such as this, Tiki's face is dominated by these huge detailed eyes, and they've got a nice splash of purple eyeshadow going on. And set above those is the nest of detail that is her hair. There's some excellent colour depth going on here, some excellent detail and sense of motion. But she does have a feature that outshines even this, in my opinion. A set of wings, transparent like those of a dragonfly, with a beautiful transition of colour from that purple that complements her eyeshadow to that blue at the tips. Ah man, they look great. I was also impressed by the fact that Tiki doesn't have a uniform skin tone, but one that was shaded and highlighted in quite a clever way. When I first took her out of the box, I thought the shading on her skin looked a little uncanny, a little unnatural. But when I perched her on that coin purse, I saw right away that the shading on Tiki perfectly complements that of the bag, giving the whole model a wonderful sense of continuity, even as these two large pieces contrast with each other. Another thing that the shading does is give a real sense of the figure's setting, with the way the light plays across Tiki's skin and especially the deep shadows of the bag, suggesting a low-light indoor environment, specifically the game's tavern. Now this is important, I'll get back to this later. What really strikes me about it is that the figure that I got is what was pictured on the internet and here on the box. These aren't pictures of some pre-production model taken before manufacturing and financial concerns conspired to compromise the quality of the final product, which is the sort of thing I'm used to from the likes of Games Workshop. It is the thing. This is great. I guess it's a sad commentary that when it comes to hobbies, especially as a Warhammer man, I'm just used to not getting what I paid for. So much so that when it actually happens, I'm stunned. Case in point, here's Tiki's butt. Now, I was fully expecting a peg or some other unsightly mechanism to attach her to this bag, but no, that out-of-sight area received as much attention as the rest of the model. Now, I guess you could say they knew you were going to look anyway. But what I'm used to is detail just vanishing the instant it's not in direct line of sight, and sometimes when it is. Right, rant. Games Workshop's Garden of Moor scenery set sent me for a right spin. It's a nice graveyard kit, but a prominent and highly visible detail on what is arguably the centerpiece of the entire set is utterly ruined by a baffling moulding decision. I mean decision, it's not a mistake or an accident. Look, I'll put a picture of it in somewhere, here. Now, look at that skull. You could fix it with advanced modelling techniques, but you shouldn't have to. And you could paint it to look good from one specific angle like Games Workshop did, for all the good it'll do you. So you imagine a young and idealistic bard unboxing his Garden of Moor for the very first time, with stars in his eyes and a song in his heart. Ah, merry days. But then, disaster. Of course, I kept my cool and my response was civil, for I am not some primitive, intemperate man given to flying off the handle at the drop of a hat. No, sir. Not even once. Nor do I rage unprovoked. Not ever. And I certainly didn't launch into any tirades. I simply didn't build it and considered the lesson learned. Beware Games Workshop scenery. And then I hit the street. Later that day there were reports of an escaped baboon, but I didn't see him. Anyway, let me show you what I think most sets Tiki apart from other models that I've seen and owned, and even apart from the original image upon which this one is based. And it's got to do with something called the Implied Narrative, which is seen quite often in visual art, but it crops up all over the place. It's the impression of a larger story at work outside that which is directly illustrated on the figure or the picture or whatever the thing might be. And it's also got to do with the encouraging of our imaginations to act on their own and fill in the gaps in these enticing spaces. Let me show you what I mean. I mentioned already how the model gestures toward a setting, which I think it does very well, even divorced completely from the source image. But it goes beyond setting and suggests subtly an action as well. Tiki wears a rather cryptic expression. She's not smiling or frowning, but looks rather pensive. The sculpt of her hair on this side suggests quick action, as if it has been suddenly flicked upwards. This exposes her ear and makes it look active, which gives her expression something of an attentive quality. An instant ago, she was sitting on a coin purse, mucking about like she is in the image. But now she's listening, see, concentrating, eavesdropping. Something is happening. Something is at play outside the figure, outside what is directly shown, and imagining and discovering what that might be is the fun of an implied narrative. The adventure results screen suggests the relaxation at the end of an adventure. The adventure result model suggests something of the tension at the start of a new one, and I think it's wonderful. If the question is whether I recommend this figure, then the answer is yes, it's the best one I own. But I have another recommendation to make. Make a dwarf figure. They made one of all the girls, They made one of the fighter for some reason. Make a dwarf. You hear me, Japanese toy makers? I want a dwarf. Where's my dwarf?